In this exercise, once again, we're going to use a constructor function to create a post object. But this constructor function is a little bit different from the constructor function you wrote in an earlier exercise. So here's the scenario. Imagine we're building a blogging engine. The user is drafting a post, but they have not published it yet. What do you think that constructor function should look like? So spend a couple minutes on this exercise. When you're done, come back, continue watching. All right, let's start by creating this constructor function. We're going to call that post and note the capital P here. Now, what parameters do we need here? Well, obviously we need the title and the body and the author, but we don't need the number of views because the first time we create a post, views should be set to 0. And every time we view that post, we increment that value. So views is not something that we want to pass here. We want to use a default value of 0 when initializing this post object. The same is true for the comments property. For a new post that has not been published yet, we don't have any comments. So we don't want to add a comments parameter here. The same is true for the isLive property. We want to set this to false by default, so there is really no need to add an extra parameter in this function. So you should aim to have functions with fewer parameters. The more parameters a function has, the harder it gets to use it, okay? So here, we're going to set the title, to the title argument. The same is true for the body property and author. Now, for the views, I'm going to initialize this to 0. Similarly, we're going to initialize comments to an empty array. So in the future, we can add new objects to this array. And finally, we set isLive to false. Now, instead of initializing this post object here, we're going to call our constructor function, pass the title, body, and author. And finally, let's log this on the console. So you can see author, body, and title properties are initialized based on the values that we passed here, but the other properties have default values. So comments is initialized to an empty array, isLive is false, and views is 0.